King Alaric surveyed his grand hall. The vast expanse of the room, adorned with intricate tapestries and golden chandeliers, was a testament to his wealth and power. Yet despite the opulence that surrounded him, a deep sense of emptiness gnawed at his soul. His eyes swept over the gold and jewels. These treasures, amassed over years of conquest and diplomacy, glittered in the dim light. They were symbols of his success, yet they brought him no comfort. They rested on the faces of his courtiers. Each one wore a smile, their expressions carefully crafted to please the king. But Alaric knew that behind those smiles lay ambition and deceit. But the king felt no joy. His heart ached with a loneliness that wealth could not soothe. The laughter and chatter of the court echoed hollowly in his ears, a constant reminder of his isolation. He had everything a king could desire, yet he yearned for something more. He longed for genuine companionship, for someone who could see beyond the crown and the throne, something beyond the gilded cage of his own making. The palace, with all its splendor, felt like a prison, its walls closing in on him with each passing day. The king sighed. He rose from his throne, the weight of his responsibilities pressing down on his shoulders. The throne, once a symbol of his power, now felt like a burden. His heavy robes rustled as he moved. Each step echoed through the hall, a reminder of the solitude that accompanied his every move. He dismissed the court with a wave of his hand. The courtiers, ever obedient, bowed low and began to leave, their whispers and murmurs fading into the distance. The courtiers bowed low. They departed, their whispers trailing behind them. Alaric watched them go, feeling the weight of his solitude settle even more heavily upon him. The king was alone once more. The grand hall, now empty, seemed even more vast and desolate. He stared out the window at his kingdom, the sprawling lands, the bustling towns, all under his rule, yet none of it brought him peace. It sprawled beneath him like a forgotten dream. The kingdom, once a source of pride, now felt like a distant memory, a dream that had lost its luster. He longed to share his life, his burdens. The weight of the crown was heavy, and he yearned for someone to help him bear it. But who could understand the weight of a crown? Who could truly comprehend the sacrifices he had made, the loneliness that came with his position? Who could see past the glittering facade to the man beneath? The man who longed for connection, for understanding, for love. A man weary of solitude, desperate for connection. The king's heart ached with a longing that no amount of wealth or power could satisfy. The king closed his eyes. He wished for a miracle, for something to break the monotony of his existence. He wished for a miracle, a sign, a change, something to bring light into his darkened world. He wished for something to change. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the king held on to a glimmer of hope, believing that perhaps one day his wish would come true. A hush fell over the court. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very walls of the grand hall were holding their breath. The courtiers, dressed in their finest silks and brocades, exchanged curious glances, their whispers barely audible. The atmosphere was electric, charged with the promise of something extraordinary. All eyes turned to the grand doors. These doors, usually a symbol of the court's impenetrable security, now seemed like a portal to another world. The heavy wood, adorned with intricate carvings of mythical creatures, creaked ominously as they began to open. They had swung open with a resounding boom. The sound echoed through the hall, silencing the last of the whispers. It was as if the very heart of the castle had announced the arrival of someone, or something, of great importance. Standing in the entrance was a figure shrouded in mystery. The silhouette was tall and imposing, framed by the dim light filtering through the open doors. The figure's presence seemed to draw the very shadows towards it, cloaking it in an aura of enigma. He wore a long, flowing robe. The robe billowed slightly as he moved, as if it were alive, whispering secrets of distant lands and forgotten times. The fabric was a deep, rich blue, like the midnight sky. It shimmered subtly, catching the light in a way that suggested it was woven with threads of starlight. A silver chain glinted at his waist. The chain was not merely an accessory. It was a statement, a symbol of his mysterious origins and the power he wielded. It was adorned with strange and wonderful charms. Each charm seemed to tell a story, a fragment of a larger, unfathomable narrative. Some were shaped like ancient runes, others like creatures from myth and legend. The stranger approached the throne. His steps were measured, deliberate, as if he were walking to the rhythm of an unseen ancient drum. He moved with an air of quiet confidence. It was the kind of confidence that comes not from arrogance, but from a deep, unshakable knowledge of one's own worth and purpose. His face was hidden in the shadows of a wide-brimmed hat. The hat cast a deep shadow, obscuring his features and adding to the air of mystery that surrounded him. In his gloved hands, he held a cage draped in silk. The silk was of the finest quality, its surface shimmering like liquid moonlight. Whatever lay beneath it was clearly of great value. The courtiers murmured amongst themselves. Their curiosity was palpable, a living thing that seemed to ripple through the crowd like a wave. Who was this enigmatic visitor? What secrets did he carry with him? And what purpose had brought him to their court? What treasures lay hidden beneath that shimmering cloth? The possibilities seemed endless, each more tantalizing than the last. King Alaric leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. The king, known for his discerning eye and insatiable curiosity, was not easily impressed. Yet, this stranger had managed to capture his full attention. He had grown weary of the same old faces, the same tedious routines. The court had become a place of predictability, a stage where the same actors played the same roles day after day. This newcomer promised something different, something exciting. The king's heart quickened with the thrill of the unknown, the promise of a story yet to be told. He gestured for the stranger to approach. His hand, adorned with rings of gold and precious gems, moved with a grace that belied his age. His voice echoed in the sudden silence. "State your name and purpose, traveler," he commanded, his tone both regal and curious. "State your name and purpose, traveler." The words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation all at once. The stranger halted before the throne. His presence seemed to fill the space, commanding attention and respect. He bowed low, his voice a soft murmur that carried through the silent hall. "My name is Azar, your majesty, and I bring a gift. My name is Azar, your majesty, and I bring a gift." The words were simple, yet they carried a weight of promise and mystery. With a flourish, he swept aside the silk drape. The courtiers gasped. The reveal was dramatic, a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity. The king drew a sharp breath. His eyes widened in astonishment, reflecting the collective awe of the court. Inside the cage, perched upon a silver stand, was a bird unlike any they had ever seen. Its feathers shimmered with iridescent hues, shifting colors with every slight movement. The bird's eyes, intelligent and piercing, seemed to hold the secrets of the universe. The bird was magnificent. Its feathers were a brilliant gold, shimmering like captured sunlight. Its eyes, two sparkling black jewels, regarded the court with an unnerving intelligence. But what truly set this creature apart was its beak. It was not the usual color of horn or bone. This bird's beak gleamed with a soft golden light. Azar smiled, a slow, knowing curve of his lips. "This, your majesty, is no ordinary pheasant. This is a golden pheasant, a creature of legend. Its voice is said to hold the wisdom of ages. But its gift is not freely given. It speaks only in riddles. Solve them, and you unlock untold riches and wisdom. Fail and face the consequences." A wave of murmurs rippled through the court. The king's advisors whispered amongst themselves. Some dismissed it as trickery, a charlatan's ploy. Others saw the potential for power, for unlocking ancient secrets. The king himself was torn. He craved wisdom, yes, but the price seemed high. King Alaric stared at the golden pheasant. The bird was unlike any he had ever seen, its feathers shimmering with an ethereal glow that seemed to capture the light of the setting sun. It was as if the creature was not of this world, a living embodiment of a legend or a myth. The king's heart raced as he took in the sight before him, a mixture of awe and curiosity filling his mind. Its golden eyes seemed to hold ancient secrets, whispering tales of forgotten times and distant lands. The intensity of its gaze was almost hypnotic, drawing the king deeper into its mysterious allure. He wondered what stories those eyes had witnessed, what wisdom they concealed. He felt a strange pull towards the creature, an inexplicable connection that transcended the boundaries of the natural world. It was as if the bird was calling out to him, beckoning him to uncover the truths it held. The king's hand trembled slightly as he reached out, feeling the warmth of the bird's presence. A hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the answer to his unspoken longing. For years, King Alaric had searched for something more, something beyond the material wealth and power he possessed. He yearned for a deeper understanding, a sense of purpose that eluded him despite his many accomplishments. He had everything that wealth could buy. His palace was filled with treasures from across the world, his coffers overflowing with gold and jewels. Yet none of it brought him the fulfillment he sought. The opulence that surrounded him felt hollow, a constant reminder of the emptiness within. But wisdom, true wisdom, that was something money couldn't purchase. He considered Azar's words, the enigmatic advisor who had brought the golden pheasant to his court. Azar had spoken of riddles and tests, challenges that would push the king to his limits and beyond. Riddles, a test. The words echoed in his mind, each syllable a promise of the unknown. Was he ready to face such a challenge? Could he unravel the mysteries that lay ahead? The king's thoughts were a whirlwind of doubt and determination. Was he willing to risk it? The stakes were high and the path uncertain. Yet, the allure of the unknown was too strong to resist. The king knew that this was a gamble, a leap of faith that could either lead to his greatest triumph or his ultimate downfall. His gaze swept over the skeptical faces of his court. They urged caution, practicality. The advisors and nobles who surrounded him were voices of reason, reminding him of the responsibilities he bore as a ruler. But their words fell on deaf ears, for the king's heart was set on a different path. But something in the king yearned for more than the mundane. He longed for adventure, for the thrill of discovery that had been absent from his life for far too long. The mundane duties of kingship had dulled his spirit, and now he saw a chance to reignite the fire within. He yearned for a challenge, for a chance to prove himself. The king's resolve hardened, his determination growing stronger with each passing moment. This was his opportunity to break free from the chains of predictability and embrace the unknown. "Very well, Azar," the king declared, his voice echoing with newfound resolve. "I accept your gift. Let the riddles begin." The words hung in the air, a declaration of intent that left no room for doubt. The court fell silent, the weight of the king's decision settling over them like a shroud. A wave of astonishment washed over the court. The nobles and advisors exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of shock and disbelief. They had not anticipated such a bold move from their king, a man known for his careful deliberation and measured actions. They hadn't expected the king to take such a risk. The murmurs of surprise grew louder, filling the grand hall with a cacophony of voices. Yet, amidst the chaos, the king stood firm, his eyes locked onto Azar's, a silent understanding passing between them. But then, King Alaric had always been known for his unpredictable nature. His reign had been marked by decisions that defied convention, actions that left his subjects both in awe and in fear. This was just another chapter in the story of a king who refused to be bound by tradition. Azar bowed low, a knowing smile playing on his lips. "Wise choice, Your Majesty." The advisor's words were laced with a hint of amusement, as if he had anticipated this outcome all along. The king's decision had set the stage for a journey that would test his limits and redefine his legacy. The journey for wisdom begins with a single step. The king knew that this was only the beginning, the first step on a path that would lead him to places unknown. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but he was ready to face them head-on. "And the golden pheasant will be your guide." Azar's voice was calm and reassuring, a beacon of light in the uncertainty that lay ahead. The bird, with its golden feathers and piercing eyes, would be the king's companion on this journey of discovery. He handed the cage to the king. The weight of the cage was a tangible reminder of the responsibility he now bore. The king accepted it with a sense of reverence, knowing that this was more than just a bird. It was a symbol of the quest he was about to undertake. The golden pheasant ruffled its feathers and let out a melodic chirp. The sound was soothing, a promise of companionship and guidance. The king felt a surge of confidence, a belief that he could overcome whatever challenges lay ahead. It was the start of a journey that would change King Alaric forever. With the golden pheasant by his side, the king took his first step into the unknown, ready to embrace the challenges and wisdom that awaited him.